Welcome to the Brown Spade Podcast Show. Once again, I have my co-host with me, Cleveland Akins, and today we'll be talking about what does Black history mean to you. So, Brother Cleveland, I'm gonna let you start it off, and then from there I will follow.
All right. What's going on, Daniel? Thank you for inviting me.
Yep.
This is the month of February when America so-called celebrate Black history. And to me, it's a good thing to celebrate, our heroes and inventors and engineers and people, who just made history throughout the United States.
Right.
But the problem that I have with the whole Black history thing is we have Black history is American history, first of all.
Facts.
And we have for years, have contributed to all the great things throughout America. I mean, America, what would America look like without Black people?
Facts.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of things that we invented, a lot of things that we built, a lot of things that we went through.
Right.
So for you to say Black history, to me, and then give us a month, to me is really a slap in the face. We are American history. You can't talk about the great things that was done in America without Black. Even if you talk about wars, if you talk about just things that happen in history as far as
you're talking about the
development of the industry, just products,
right?
Produce,
revolutionized.
We actually, we had our hands in it. And I remember when I was in high school, and I had a teacher. He taught, I think it was called Black American Studies or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the class he taught us about, he taught us about Africa. He taught us about, leaders in Africa. He taught us about, tribal leaders in Africa. Then he taught us about, inventors and just our famous, heroes in America.
Right.
And he did it all year long. But when I talked to him later on after I graduated, he told me that he was not supposed to be doing it all year long.
Because it's not on the curriculum.
No, he told me that he was only supposed to teach it certain times.
Right.
And when I started thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, he actually was doing it because he would pull out a text. When we came in there, he would pull out a textbook of American history. And then he said, okay, now put that book up. I'm about to hand y'all out some pamphlets.
Right.
And he would give us pamphlets. And we would learn from the pamphlets.
Right.
And the funny thing is, it was Blacks in that class and it was whites in that class. And I think we even had an Asian young lady in that class. But we was learning about our history, or he was trying to teach it all year long.
Right.
And he told me they found out and it was a problem.
Right.
So to me, that shows you that, and I think one of the reasons why they don't include our history in the books, because they would have to go back and rewrite their history.
But okay, so let me go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
No, I was gonna say they would have to go back because they heroes, that they consider heroes. A lot of them was villains. So if they was to actually show the things that we have done and the things that that we don't get credit for, that they take credit for, they would have to go back and rewrite the history books. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, what Black history means to me? Well, first I'm going to say that I do agree with you. Black American history is American history. We are a very resilient group of people.
Yes. Acts.
We were the only ones that came over here um, on slave ships and in chains. Everybody else volunteered to come to be a part of the American experience. With that being said, um, as far as history concerned, the victor always controlled the narrative. So when he began to write history, we were extracted out of history as though we didn't exist. And when he did include us, he only talked about us being slaves, enslaved rather.
Correct.
We weren't slave, we were enslaved. So with that being said, and I know you mentioned something about books. Books can always be revised.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the biggest problem is, I feel like once when they started integration, then that's when they started. They should have started infusing our contributions. They should have started infusing our contribution toward this country into regular history. We shouldn't be isolated for a month. We should be, because history should be in chronological order. So whatever happened on this date, whatever happened during this time, present it. Good, bad, or indifferent, it should be placed in chronological order. It shouldn't be just placed in 1 month.
Yes.
But, and also, I want to say, excuse me, brother, I had some hot. And also, when you do that, when you separate a group of people out of history, then for the people that don't look like you, they think you did not have any contribution toward the history. So therefore, they will lose self-respect for this particular group, which is Black Americans, and they will lose respect directly and indirectly because they feel like you did not have any substance when it comes to building this country. So that's my take on that. As far as war concerned, we participated in every war.
Every war.
From the Revolutionary War, the first person got killed was his name was Crispus Attucks. We fought in every war. We went overseas in Germany and we fought with them, and we still, the soldiers had to get in the back. And the prisoners got in the front because they were white, but they was prisoners of war. They were POWs. So we were still being treated as second-class citizens fighting for this country. And I guess those soldiers, I don't know of any, but I'm quite sure they thought that would make it a better, they thought they was going to make things better by participating in those wars. So I have to salute those guys for just participating during those times, because honestly speaking, I don't think I would have been able to do that, because I wouldn't feel like I was included. And I'm not crying or anything. I know for the listeners, some people might say, oh, grab your bootstraps up. It's not about that. It's about you not knowing much about me or my history. That's where the line is drawn in between. And because if you ask the average, person, different group about what we've done, they wouldn't know.
They would,
because it's not in there. And then so when February comes, it's not important. It's almost like a PE class. If you want to participate. If not, if you want to dress off a gym, cool. If not, don't. So that's why I feel like they need to put it into chronological order.
Yes.
So they can see how, when you go back in time, when you're doing history, you can see where we started as far as this history concerned on this soil and the contributions that we made. Not to mention jazz music.
Yes.
not to mention the Harlem Renaissance, not to mention, and that's why we're so resilient, because when you think about it, from when we were freed, you know, yes, everybody is aware of the 40 acres and a mule, which we never received. And so Lincoln got assassinated. So the vice president never fulfilled what was about to be fulfilled. Because when you think about it on that level, when you free, once when those Black Americans were freed, they were supposed to have land so they can have their own place, so they could begin building, so they can have some type of protection in place. Because if they don't, then how can they begin when everybody else had a head start? They have no money, they have no education, and you just told them they were free. That's all you told them. So
meaning you would have to depend back on them.
So a lot of right. So right. So a lot of free enslaved Black people had to go back, and then later on they went from slaves to sharecroppers, and even then they was getting screwed.
Yes.
So again, the story is not told. They don't get in detail enough for us because, and another part of it is they are ashamed. Some of them are ashamed of what went through history. It's too graphic for them to even visualize that a person could think of such horrible things to do to another human being. Now, a lot of people would say, you know, we went over there and started the war. I mean, they came over there when they brought us here from Africa and brought us through and dropped us off in different locations. It wasn't so much about color. It was so much about we were good at what we did. We had those type of skills to grow agriculture. We were the best at it. So it wasn't about color initially. It wasn't about color, because a lot of people don't know also that Columbus even had a Black guy that traveled with him along the way through his travels, even though he did not discover America for history's sake. But a lot of people don't know I don't have his name right now, but he traveled with him as well. So we contribute a huge amount. And I just think that they need to revise the books. I think they need to talk about it. And I think that if they put it in chronological order, then I think the people don't look like us, the other groups, whether they're white, Asian, Hispanic, or whatever, they will see the contributions that were done in history in that order. Whatever happened, put it in there.
Yes. And we have the information.
Absolutely.
That's the thing I love about the internet, because you can look up anything.
Right.
You can look up anything. You know, anything you want to know. And it's like you said, just a month. We have too much history to put in a month. And
right.
And then on top of that, it's always the same, you know, characters. It's always the same people. Martin Luther King.
It's the same people over and over.
The same people.
Rosa Parks.
Yes. And I remember my daughter was in school, right? She was in middle school. And she had it was Black History Month.
Yeah.
She had to do a project. And so they sent home a list of people for her to do.
Right.
So I said, okay, we're gonna pick one of the characters on here, but we're gonna also do one that's not on here.
Right.
So I can't remember if they gave a half a credit or they didn't want to give a credit, but they did anyway. It went. They didn't want to recognize the other person that she did, and I forget who it was.
Right.
I can't remember. It might have been Marcus Garvey. I can't remember. It was so long ago, because she was in like the 4th or 5th grade. She was young, and so they didn't want to acknowledge the person that she did. Mm-hmm. So me and her mother, and I can't remember if my mother might have sent a letter, email, or we went up to the school, but we made, we was like, hey, why are y'all not recognizing, who we considered
Right, her work.
as as our heroes or somebody just in history that needs to be recognized. Well, I can't remember if we went up there. I think we might have went up there, but they made a big thing out of it.
Right.
And then when we met the teacher, and not to say that in because you're not black, you should know the history or whatever.
Right.
Because the teacher, she was white, and not to say that she didn't know the history, but the fact is, you're telling my child who her heroes are.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Yeah, she did one of the people that you wanted to do, but guess what? She's gonna teach you about this person too.
Right.
And it was a big thing at the school. But to go back to the teacher that taught me, that was teaching me Black history and just about different people. He told me that that he tried to get it year round, and I think, but being that we call it Black history, I think that gives them the chance to say, hey, well, we gave you a month, but if you make it American history, we could teach it all year long. And that's what he was trying to explain to me. He was trying to get it to be American history.
Right.
But no, they was like, no, it's Black history, then it's American history. And he was mad.
Yeah.
Because he was passionate back then. When we was in high school, he didn't know. We just was like, yeah, okay, do these pamphlets, fill them out, not understanding what he was trying to do.
Right.
But yeah, it's important that it become, if you really want to celebrate blacks, Black Americans in history,
right,
make it American history. But it should be no Black History Month.
No, there shouldn't be.
It should be all year long. And
right, but Cleve, with that being, just to piggyback off what you just said, though, that's why I feel like, well, one, they pick and chose, because they make it seem like in history that the only people that's contribute was the people that was nonviolence, and they tried to give you this idea, and as generation die and new generation evolve and grow up, you just think first thing you're thinking about hand is Martin Luther King. You think about Rosa Parks. You think about who else do we talk about the most? Who else? I'm missing a few. They talk about who else other than Martin Luther King? They talk about
goodness, that's the
shame. But they talk about the ones they select, they cherry pick. That's my point that I'm making.
They cherry pick.
Because when as far as like Malcolm X, I had to learn about Malcolm X on my own.
Yeah.
I went and bought the autobiography and learned on my own. We didn't have the access to the computer at my house, so I had to go get the books and read them.
Marcus Garvey. I had to learn that on
Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, I had to learn that on my own.
Yeah, I learned about Elijah Muhammad, that movement. I learned about the Black Panther movement.
And that's what he was teaching us in school. He was teaching us about the Black Panthers.
Right.
And I never forget, it was a girl in the class that questioned, because he was explaining to all the programs that the Black Panthers brought to the Black community, and then the government took it and revised it, then gave it back to us as if they invented it and brought in, for welfare to after school program. I mean, the list goes on of the things that the Black Panther, and he was introducing us to this.
Right.
He was really introducing us to this. But these are the things that, because they part of history.
Right, but they narrowed it down. That's what I'm saying. They cherry picked and they narrowed it down to a few faces. They never talk about people like Medgar Evers. The list go on and on. Marcus Garvey, like you mentioned earlier. I mean, it's just a lot. It's just a lot of.
Frederick Douglass, they will mention him every now and then.
Yeah, he don't even get mentioned enough.
Yeah. And he taught me about Frederick Douglass and the banking system and all. I mean, all the stuff that he was teaching us, it was amazing. But we just did not understand what he was doing.
Yeah, for me, when I was like I say, I mean, of course we had Black History Month growing up, but for me, when I graduated out of high school, I was working at a private school, an all white private school, and every time I got a break, I used to go to the library and stuff like that. And I just remember also that they used to throw away a lot of books, but they knew they were learning about Black history. But
Oh
again,
yeah.
they still was learning. They still were cherry picking on who they wanted to learn about.
Hmm.
You know, they didn't want to learn about the so-called radicals, the ones who went against the grain. But I just remember, matter of fact, because I just actually some of the books I'm bringing taking with me, some of them, I've donated. And I just remember every time I saw those books, because they would get new books and they would just get ready to get rid of old books out and just pretty much throw them away. I would get those books and bring them home, and every chance I got. So I learned, honestly speaking, I learned more Black about our own
On your own.
on my own
On your
than I
own.
did
Yes.
than I did the whole time I
Yes.
was in school. I remember when I was in elementary school, we used to have this hallway, and most of the people that was on there, excuse me, Marian Anderson, uh, um, Arthur Ashe,
Arthur Ashe. Yes.
O.J. Simpson.
Yes.
So they had like, then they started venturing out. You notice it went from activists to sports.
Yeah, to sports.
So it's like, okay, but again, it was all cherry picked.
Yes.
Now again, they talked about OJ, but they didn't talk about Jim Brown.
Yes. But you know why? Because he was an activist. Because he was an activist.
He was an activist,
Yes.
right? They didn't even, honestly speaking, they didn't even talk about Muhammad Ali when you think about it. Not when I was coming up.
No, they didn't.
Not when I was coming up.
Didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Now that I'm thinking about it, they didn't even talk about Muhammad Ali. And then the sad part about it is, I'm not going to make this a Muhammad Ali thing. That it's amazing how history changes mind later on. Like he was against what the government stood for because he understood that we were not being treated equally, and that's why he was saying, "No, I'm not fighting in this war. These people haven't done anything to me. I don't even have rights here, and you want me to go fight a war, which is the most craziest thing that you can ask a person to do. But here we are as Black Americans, we still. That's why I don't mean this with no disrespect. I'm saying this with sincerity. Black Americans have demonstrated more patriotic to prove that they're more patriotic than any other group. Any other group.
Than anybody. We are.
Because we over the head over and over again, but we still participate with the system.
Yes.
And so that's what kills me when they try to make it seem like we're not as patriotic and this and that. But again, it lets me know they don't know much about who our history is. They don't know our contribution, and they're just only speaking on what they see in today's television. They see us in a more negative image. You see? So that's the only thing they know us on is being in that negative image. They don't never show us in a positive light. But that's another subject for another day.
Yeah.
But before I forget, since we're talking about it, please press the like and subscribe button.
Yes, please. please.
Help us get these channels up. We want to do more things and we want to bring in more people, and we definitely need your support. So please do that.
Hit the like button.
Yes, please hit the like button and subscribe.
Yeah, and subscribe.
Yeah.
And share.
And share.
Yes.
Yeah, subscribe and like.
It's no one more patriotic than us, because the things that we have been through and the things that we endure,
the things that we
continue to go through, we still stand up and salute the flag. We still stand up and want to go to war for this country. We still stand up. We still do the things that you would think we're getting, the same amount of equality or rights or whatever. We're getting it, because if you're on the outside looking in, you would think.
Right.
But then when you go to look and see
how
system and the outcomes,
how the system is but it was already in place and the system never been revised.
Yes.
It slowly get revised, and it moves at a snail pace on what needs to be rectified, because you still have some old laws in certain states still exist to this day that is not in our favor. That's totally against us in certain states.
Yes. And me doing what I do, drive trucks and everything, it used to be scary for me just driving from state to state to state to state.
I can
And
imagine.
the things I would see
I can imagine.
and things I have heard,
Right.
It's like, wow, it is 2020
Right.
or 2017 or 18, and we still, we still going through these same things. They went back, they was going through in the 60s.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we're not knocking, what our forefathers went through with they,
right.
The struggle, whatever. It's just the fact that, yes, our history should not be 1 month. Our history is American.
It should be included with the rest of it.
It's American history.
It's American history.
What would America look like without blacks?
Another thing, you got my wheels turning here. Another thing that when I don't know, I mean, we're just a few years apart, but anyway, I know when I was in 8th grade in high school, we had Georgia history.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now,
yes.
The crazy part
Georgia
about
history.
Here's the crazy part about that is they had their own history book say Georgia history, but then they also they just had regular history too. But they wanted to make sure that Black and white kids learn the history of Georgia. You see what I'm saying? Now, here's the crazy part of that is, Cleve. Now, granted, the Civil War, all that should be included as well. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but they shouldn't be separated and have their own book. But here's the thing: they went against the government. They was opposed to Lincoln, so which was treason. But yet and still, they have their own book. Then I made it legal. They lost their power, and then they gain it back, and then they make sure they're gonna keep pumping. They don't want you to forget their history. So
because that's what that Confederate.
Yeah. That's what it's for.
Yeah, right. It was against the government.
And most of those statues were put up after. They was put up after we gained our freedom. Most of these Confederate statues that's in these southern cities and states, they were put up after we were freed, emancipated. Yeah. So we talking about as a matter of fact, not right after then. It was like, I want to say in the maybe 50s or 60s. It was right after the civil rights during that time when they just started popping up everywhere. But my thing is, if they went against the government and the president of the United States, they shouldn't be. You can talk about events that happen, but they should be celebrated because you wouldn't celebrate. You wouldn't celebrate Taliban.
No, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't say, "Oh, well, some of them, some of their children were American. They went to American school." You're not going to do that because you're going to look at them as the enemy no matter what. So and I know we're jumping the subject again, but why does it differ? It shouldn't differ. It shouldn't differ. So that's I just had to throw that in there. I just went a little extra or whatever.
Got you. Yeah, you absolutely right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And once again,
and I don't think they have Georgia history now, but still, man, they still cherry pick on. Because I remember even when my daughter was in school, because my daughter she's older than your daughter. Yeah. They had on a list on who to pick from, and it's like, come on, man, how can you still controlling the narrative? You still telling us who to look for, when to look for, how to look for, and I don't think that's fair. It's an unjust thing. If it happened on this soil, we should be able to pull it up. We should be able to, if a child pull it up and submit their report or whatever you have to do, it should be in there. But it should be in American history. We shouldn't have to. Because when you think about it, our history is segregated. If you go through like this, that's segregated. That's segregated.
It is because you separate Black history.
Yeah, you just took some stuff and you just placed it over here. Okay, well, y'all only talk about this on this month. You see?
Yes.
So, if my opinion, in my humble opinion, if you want this to be, because again, America is still an experience. It's still a young nation. This is like the youngest nation out of all the nations. You have to correct your own if you're trying to do what's right, and you have to put this stuff in order, historical wise, And then that way, when everybody see how we contributed, we'll be looked at different. Not only will we be looked at different, we'll be looking at ourselves a little bit different. It'll give us some upliftment. You see what I'm saying? So if you in that classroom, because now you're dealing, we're not in a black and white world no more. And that's another thing. We're not. So you're talking about people from all ethnic backgrounds. You see what I'm saying? So you're talking about people from all over the place, from different countries in Europe to from Africans, different countries in Africa to people from South America. So this is a whole different world. And that's fine because America is an experience. American is a melting pot. And that's why it should be included because it is history. It's not that we just pulling these stories, out of our asses. This really happened on this soil. We're not even talking about what the African is. We're talking about right here.
We just talk about America. Just talk
right.
about,
We're talking about just America. And it should be in there. And it shouldn't just be for the month of February. So
no, that's what I was saying. You can't put it all in 1 month.
Right.
Like you just can't. That's why it should be taught all year long. It should be taught all year long. And here's the thing. It can't be taught all year long.
Yeah.
We can teach it to our kids. My daughter, when my daughter was picking on the college to go to, right? She was pushing the issue of she want to go to, all black. She want to go to, a historical black college.
Right.
So I'm asking, I said, okay, why would you, why do you want to go to all black college? I said, why not go to UGA? And she looked at me and she started laughing. She was like, out of all the people that would ask me that, she said, I figured you would not ask me that. She said, as much as you pushed, you and mommy pushed, the importance of black,
right.
just the great things we have done.
Yeah.
I mean, why else would I not go to all black college? I said, hey, say no more.
Right.
I said, you absolutely right. Say no more.
Right.
So she was looking at FAMU and Alabama, and she was just looking at a lot of, even up Hampton, and she got accepted in a lot of schools. I think over 40-something schools. But I said, I know the school that's great for her. So I started looking into Tuskegee. And I just started sending her information, like stuff I used to do, give her stuff to read and stuff to look at when it came to something that I wanted her to know.
Right.
And she just started reading on the doctors and all the things that Tuskegee, you know what I'm saying? And she applied. She said, Daddy, this is where I want to go. I said, let's do it. And that's where she goes now.
That's
but you can teach your kids all these things. You don't have to wait for the schools to put it in in the books. But at the same time, these are things that we should be pushing towards in these school systems. This should be, it's a no-brainer. It shouldn't be no argument. It shouldn't be no, well, let's see. No, it should be, okay, we're going to start publishing books right now, because they change the books every 5 to 10 years.
They change it anyway. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
it ain't like they have to.
It's not an excuse. It's not an
excuse. The books away. They change them up every 5 to 10 years.
There's no excuse.
No excuse. Other than you don't want it to be in there.
Right. So you have to.
You don't want to be in there.
Yeah. So that's what needs to be done. Just for history's sake, because it's the history, it's the fabric of this country. It helps you understand. It helps you give a full understanding of this country.
Yeah. And I advise anyone that that has kids that's in elementary school, high school, like just for the whole month. And I know we doing the February the month, but it's so many inventors, it's so many engineers, it's so many things we have done in history, from sports to music. The music just alone will blow your mind. Just as far as rock and roll and jazz, we have invented every form of music you could think of. We that's us.
Right.
That's us.
Right.
Yeah, that's us. Rock and roll was not invented. It was invented by us.
Yeah.
Us.
Blues.
Yeah. Blues.
Jazz.
Pop. Jazz. Anything you could think. Any form of music.
Rap.
And then the more and more you start digging deep, more and more you start seeing, if you follow it all the way back, it'll take you all the way back to Africa.
Yeah.
It'll take you all the way back to Africa
Yeah.
with the instruments, the drums,
Right.
the music, the sounds. Oh
Right.
yeah. So I would advise you to, don't wait for them to teach your kids about, you could just Google famous inventors, black inventors, famous black engineers. I mean, you could just Google anything. With this internet, it's no reason that our kids do not know
Right.
who we are and where we come from and the things that we have accomplished. There's no reason.
Right.
Just like they'll Google the latest dance, the TikToks and all that. Yeah,
Right.
they can do the same thing. Yeah.
Right. They can do it. They can learn all that. Then they need
can
to learn about
yes.
themselves.
These kids learn.
Agree with you 100%.
They can learn songs and
Yeah.
everything. They can learn anything. These kids think like computers. So I advise people, to don't wait till the February. Do it now. Just start getting. I mean, it's a list of inventors and stuff that you can, you could just.
Not only, yeah, but go ahead, finish what you about to say.
No, I was gonna say you could just Google it and listen, hit the like button, and also share and subscribe, please, because we want more shows like this to be on air. So we need you to support us. That you don't have to pay $1.
It don't cost you
like button. That like button is just like paying us and appreciating us.
That's it.
But yeah. But go ahead, Daniel. I'm sorry.
No, so I was going to raise the question because I was thinking earlier before I started recording. I was thinking I was asking myself, would our ancestors, if they can see us now, would they be proud of where we are as a people? I would say no.
No, I no.
I would say no.
It's a video with Malcolm X. It's called The Ballot and the Bullet. Look it up and listen to the things that he is saying that we were going through back in '64, I think it was.
Right.
Just listen to it.
Right.
Listen to the things that he's talking about in that video. From politicians to the churches, to the communities, to the economy, to job. I mean, he touched on everything and this was in the 60s.
Right.
He touched on everything that we're still asking America for. We're still asking the government for. He talks about it then. And he talks about how these are the things we need in order to be able to even make it in our communities. He talks about the job. He talks about our businesses. Everything that we're going through right now, he talks about it in that video. And it's like an hour long.
Another one I listened to last month with the King one, when Dr. King was talking about there's two Americas.
Yes.
Now
that's a great one.
That's a good one to listen to. That's a great one. Because when you listen to that also, it sounds, you can listen to that speech, and that speech was what, 40 plus years ago, almost 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And you take that speech and you put it in today, what's going on today. It still fits. And that lets you know, yeah, we may be making progress as far as technology and these little fancy phones and computers, but the core issues are still there. The core issues, the core problems that they were talking about then still exist. We're still talking about police brutality, still talking about lack of jobs, opportunity, still talking about
education,
wages, still talking about education, and we're still talking about race.
And we're talking about
and we're still talking about race.
The justice system.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So
I
don't think they would be. I don't think none of them would be satisfied from either extreme. From Dr. King to the Panthers, I think they'll be.
Yeah,
highly upset. Highly upset.
Yes, you can even go back to.
We died for this, you know.
You could go back to Harriet Tubman, and they will be disappointed.
They'll be like, "We died for this."
Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of Harriet Tubman.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, go ahead.
Not to take anything away from what she's done.
Right.
You know, I get chills when I think about, just what our ancestors have been through and what they died for. But at the same time, the $20, putting $120 to me has no meaning. And this is the reason why I say I could take that $20 and go into a restaurant and it doesn't do nothing extra for me. I'm not going to get no extra cheese on my sandwich. I'm not going to get no extra soda. It's just $20. Now, if I put that $20 up there and I got something extra, or if every $20 that they printed go towards a black household or black community, or to help to build something for the black community, right, I would say yes. But that $20 does not do nothing for me. I'm still Cleveland with $20 trying to purchase something. It ain't $22. It ain't $25. It's just the same old $20.
Same old $20.
No matter who you put on there.
And again, I hate to jump subject, but I have to piggyback off what you just said. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter if they had red birds on a $20 bill. It's still a $20 bill. Yeah. I get it what they're saying. That's a part of history, and you want to implement on the currency, but we don't control the currency, and as a group we don't have a large ownership of a lot of things. So how is that making things relevant? It really doesn't. And I'm not being insensitive. Thank you for your contribution, Ms. Harriet Tubman.
Yes.
No disrespect towards you by any means. But I think a lot of times, you had this conversation before. It just, again, it's symbolism. Just like, the presidency was symbolism. When Obama was in it, that was symbolism.
Yes.
And people, we can do anything we want to do. No, you can't. No, you can't. We still have some issues. So, but that's another show for another day. So, okay, brother, please. So in closing, as we always do, your final word.
My final word is hit that like button, subscribe, and share.
Yeah.
But listen, I'm not taking anything away from Harriet Tubman or any of our heroes. I call them heroes because, and I call them superheroes because in today's society, we don't do the things they did, to push the issue or the point of where we're trying to get our word. And they have died for this. Martin Luther King died.
Right.
He died trying to get equality.
Medgar Evers died. And a lot of
died.
Yeah.
These people died, and they family. Just to say this real fast,
they suffered, but they benefited.
Yes, but it's crazy because
for the big names, for the larger names.
Say that again.
The larger names.
Oh yes.
Because if you was a peon and died marching, then it was just like gone.
But it's sad because these people lost their loved ones for us, and now these people are struggling as far as probably to maintain. Right. Now, if we was a community, it's no reason why Martin Luther King kids are not celebrated or recognized or even living, you know what I'm saying, in around us, and we enjoy it and embracing them because they lost their father. Yes, they lost their father.
Well, yeah. But I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one because I'm gonna tell you why. After you talking about the King thing.
Yes.
Because you don't celebrate a hero's children. They definitely got compensated for it.
I think
they got compensated for it. They sued the government, they won.
That's different. I'm talking about us.
I'm
not talking about what they did. I'm talking about what we can do, what we should have been doing for our so-called heroes and their people. I feel we
Go ahead.
being that, and I don't want to use the word sacrifice,
But it
but
was a sacrifice. They
it
sacrificed their
was.
life.
Yes.
They did sacrifice their life.
Yes. And just on that alone, we should have embraced them. We should have communities, and we should have embraced them, from Malcolm X to Martin Luther King. I mean, the list goes on. We should have embraced these people and their family. Yes. But that's just my opinion.
Right. You're entitled to your opinion.
But that's just my opinion.
Right.
And I just think that, we have a lot of things that we have to work on, as a community, as a race of people. But at the same time, we making heroes every day, all day. So, to my opinion, make sure your kids know who your heroes are, and you should actually be, your kid's hero. You should actually be, your child's hero. So you basically will go down in history in their eyes and in their books as one of the greatest man or greatest women to live, or greatest man or woman to live. So on that note, I'm not taking away from any of our heroes, but I don't think Black history should even be Black history. It should be American history. Because without us, without Blacks, what would America look like? I'm done.
Okay. I want to say, as far as history concerned, is that history is something that you're supposed to go back in time. You read it, you understand it, and you learn from it. Whether it was good or bad, you learn from it. And I think a lot of times we, as Black people, I think a lot of time we romanticize our those certain events or certain heroes in time, which is nothing wrong with that. But that was at that time. So I'm saying that to say is, we, as living Black people today, every day you wake up, history is being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So my question and my challenge to the ones that can hear this is, since you are living history right now, how do you want to be remembered? And when those people calculate your steps from A to Z, from the day you were born to the day you died, how would that story be told? So, and there's no disrespect to those ancestors. I'm not saying don't love them or anything like that. I'm just saying we learn from our ancestors, we learn from our heroes, our Black heroes, but we can't get so much stuck into time. We have to continue learn from it, and let's continue to make more history. That's what I'm saying. So on that note, peace.